to cry no more.
I tell you, we won't, church.
We won't have to cry no more.
Keep it simple, sir. Senorita, Senora, sisters and saints of God. We have another great production coming your way. And today the house is full, literally and spiritually. And rather than me make a mistake on someone's name, we're going to let each person introduce themselves and give you about 1 or 2 minutes about themselves. And then we are going to get started with our production. Today I'm going to call this Dayton 21st Century Scribes. How about that? Let us start out today. We have Miss Valerie Colton to my left and your right. And we go right around the circle to Jerry and Lenore and Tina and Marcella. Please introduce yourself and tell us about a minute or two, a little bit, something you want us to know about you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm Valerie J. Lewis Coleman. I serve professional speakers and experts to magnify and monetize their message by publishing quality books. So I've published about 10 or 12 books of my own and another 177 authors in their books. 70% of my authors are bestsellers. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I have a couple events coming up to serve authors. My website is penofthewriter.com.
Yes, yes.
I'm Gerald E. Green, and I'm a poet. And I have a book here that I've written last year called White Window, My View of the African American Experience. And I also have poetry here on DATV, which is broadcast just about every day. Just look for me on the schedule called Gerald Green Poetry.
I'm Lenore Rose Burkhardt. I write historical romance primarily. I actually opened the genre for the CBA, which is the Christian Book Association of Regency Christian Romance. I also write contemporary romance, and I write young adult suspense, and I write a whole bunch of other stuff. I have about 11 books out right now, almost finished with another. And I'm a mother of 5, married, grew up in New York, and now love Ohio.
All right. Praise God.
Good evening. My name is Tina Tolles, and I belong to Corinthian Baptist Church. I'm married to Doug Tolles. We have a blended family of 6 children, and God has blessed me to write 8 books. And I'm the founder and president of the Dayton Christian Writers Guild, where I encourage individuals to write and to write for God's glory.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Marcella Ash, and I am the author of 10 books. I am also the wife of James L. Ash. I am the sister of Pastor Carl Norton, which is my brother. I am blessed to be graced with so many other people here today, and I want to thank God first for being ahead of my life and letting me be able to do what we're doing today. And I have books for children, your sister, your brother, your mother, anybody that you want to have it for, and I'm found on Amazon. And my email address is marcellaash@sbcglobal.net.
Praise God. And we thank God for each and every one of you. And I know with all this knowledge, information, stripes of today. And we know the Bible has many stripes. But today, we are the stripes of today, man. Amen. And I notice the love and the outreach each one of you guys have in our community, that you are trying to help others that are gifted and don't know where to go with their information. And hopefully you have something to share today that someone in our viewing audience may be able to grasp hold, encourage. I know you're a mentor, and mentoring is something you do. I said oftentimes we used to always say that the more you give, the more he give to you. With those songs we sing, I found the more you give spiritually, God gives back to you. If we give ourselves not always monetary, but when we give of ourselves, so much more come back to us. Now, I don't want to do all the talking. Jump in there as the Spirit of the Lord leads you to share something that someone you feel has an interest or can help at home. Do that.
Well, I just want to say Dayton is really pushing for local artists, and so I just got selected to be a trainer for Culture Works' new program, Our Town, and they're looking to sponsor 30 artists, performing visual and literary artists, and we're going to train them and encourage them and network and teach them how to do what they do in excellence. So that is going on now. The application process is going on now. Yeah, for CultureWorks.
Is there some way that you have to get in touch with, or?
Cultureworks.org, I believe, is the website, would be the best way. They want to look for our town because they have quite a few different grant opportunities. But the one I'm talking about is our town.
Okay, great. See, there's a lot of
There you
information.
go. I just want to say, this is my day to honor this lady that's sitting on the left of you. She knows, she probably said, oh no, she's not going to do that again. Valerie. You know, we started out as a Soul of the Pen group. Valerie, myself, LaTanya Branham, and Kay Jeters. And we all different ladies with different backgrounds. So I looked at it as Soul of the Purpose, because each one of us, we added 2 more girls, Gail Miller and Dorinda Newsom. But in the beginning, it was just the 4 of us, all different ladies, one doing this, doing that. Valerie went on to set the stage for Ohio. I was so proud of her. And she didn't know it. But I was so proud of her. I wanted to get something for everybody, which I wasn't able to do. But I did. She don't know this, but I did go get this jacket for the Dayton Book Expo, and I was hoping they would pick it up and get everybody in the Dayton Book Expo. See, women don't normally have a idea of helping and supporting each other. You know, they silent. And sometimes silent need to be a little noise. And she set the stage for so many things. And one thing she don't want me to talk about, when I did my children's book about 20 years ago, and my book is now in Nahura, Africa, in a school in Africa. And Valerie, wherever they go, they're going to always hear my story about you. With my children's book, this was my first book, children's book. And Valerie came to my house and she said, Marcella, well, at the time everybody was bald-headed. They was going bald or they were getting bald. So Valerie said, put some hair on that boy. And so I put some hair on that boy. This book is international. It's traveled many, many places. I have people telling me Cincinnati, Columbus, and I tell the story, but see, Valerie never hear. She hear it from me, but she never hear how I tell the story in front of audiences and big conventions. I bring this with me and show them what she did for me on this book. And she's always been an encourager for as artists, and we did the United Authors over at Judge Little John's place, but to do the Dayton Book Expo, we didn't have an expo. I received 2 best-selling book awards. These 2 books got the 2 best-selling book award, one in 2012 and one in 2015. And it's just amazing how one sister can help another, you know, and girls compete, but I think women should complete each other. I mean, you don't all have to be leaders, but you can be supportive of what stage they're giving you. And to give us the book expo, I just kind of hated that it tallied out, but God knows, you know, He's the director. And Tina, she did so many things for the books. She invited me many a times with my mother, who's now deceased. She sit there and she sold books from Tina's platform. So I just feel blessed to know so many women that really don't have that jealousy, that backstabbing. If I could turn my back and know you praying for me, I'm all right. And I just want to say thank you, Valerie, for bringing so much to Ohio.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Yes, and it's beautiful. I'm glad to see so much taking place, and believe it or not, God blessed me to see a vision a long time ago. I'm like Johnny Appleseed. I hit and go. Back in 1980, when Lois Petchy and I was hooking up with the writers groups, and I always wanted to see this take place in Dayton. There was so much talent, beautiful people that were right here, and I said, a lot of this go to the grave. People do not hear the talent. In Dayton, I'm hoping the Gym City come out even more.
Yeah, Tina had a group in Dayton.
Yes. In fact, Tina come over to my house before she started her group. She said, I know you got information. She said, I'm only going to come over at lunchtime. I think she spent the whole evening. She said, you got so much information here. Oh my goodness. We went through so many books and the different publishing houses and so forth. So see, I'm so happy to see this thing taking off. And Valerie, like you said, doing a great job. Tina.
Yes.
You've done a great job, and I know your husband be working with you as well. And Lenore and Jerry, I mean, I know you are soft-spoken and quiet, but modestly. But how many books?
Well, we have the Scribes group, which meets in Kettering. Then I'm also in the Middletown area group, and they come from everywhere, not just Middletown. Same for Kettering. And you know, another segment of the population, you might say, it's great to have women's support. But I like to do workshops for high schoolers. I like to encourage young writers, and there's a lot of them, and they're not going to come out to a writers group. They're intimidated. Actually, a lot of adults are afraid to come out to writers groups. They just don't feel qualified. So I do workshops for like homeschools and things like that, and it's great. I don't know. Well, encouraging young writers to me is part of my calling.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many publishing?
I do have my own publishing company, but like as Valerie will attest, publishing, you have to wear so many hats that I'm ready to go back to having an agent. I'm praying about it.
The more responsibility.
It is a lot of responsibility, and I've only published 2 other authors, and even just those 2, it just keeps me so busy. I want to do my own writing more.
Yeah, take from you a lot. The
It
creativity.
does. It's just so many hats, and I'm a wife and mom too, and you know, we all know.
Yeah.
And Jerry he's already doing so many poems and poetry and on TV and tell us a bit more about what you're doing now in the community. Likewise.
Well, I'm a member of 5 different writing groups that meet monthly here in the Dayton area. There are a lot of writers in Dayton. And one of the groups that I enjoy the most is the one that meets at the Paul Lawrence Dunbar House. It's a Dunbar Literary Circle. And encouraging young writers and people who aren't writing to come in, get involved and learn and partake of the wisdom of Dayton's poet laureate, Paul Lawrence Dunbar.
And when do you meet?
We meet at the Dunbar House.
When and what time?
It's the second Sunday of every month at 2 p.m. Meet from 2 to 4 p.m. Each month. And I've published on Amazon a 422 of Dunbar's poems. And what's significant about this edition that I've edited is the topical index in the back, showing all the words. He used a lot of dialect words. And so it's an extensive index for people who are interested in his poetry.
I have a question.
If you're looking for a specific subject, it's easy to find the poem where he mentioned a word about the subject. Yes?
Great accomplishment. I just
Is
have a
Mrs.
question.
C still over there?
Who?
Mrs. C. Because she was over there at the Dunbar House doing that.
Yes, she was.
She was doing that.
Yes.
Because I was working under her. You remember?
Yes,
I remember.
Yeah.
I think she's no longer there.
She's not over there?
No, Omope. Mama
Omope is leading it now.
Yes.
Oh,
Can I
okay.
ask you my question?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Question.
No,
Go ahead.
You mentioned he's the poet laureate for Dayton.
Well, that's
So is that in
that's my
perpetuity?
definition of him. In
Okay.
perpetuity, yes.
So do we actually appoint a Dayton poet?
I don't know.
Oh.
I
I like that though.
I do.
Yeah.
You just want to get this straight, right?
I just wondered,
Right.
is it
I mean,
forever?
is any Dayton poet ever going to?
No.
Probably not.
Probably not.
No. So I don't have any aspirations in this area.
But he was great, even though he used a dialect, he was very intellectual. In fact, he was, a lot of times people only think the dialect they use, Paul Lawrence Dunbar, but he was a school editor. He was for their newspaper.
Valedictorian. But what I find interesting, when he was performing, the white audiences love to hear his dialect.
Yes.
I prefer the rest of his poetry today,
Yes.
which is brilliant.
Yes.
He was a brilliant man.
Exactly.
And his poetry is educational and it's entertaining.
Entertaining.
Yes.
Can we
I'm gonna
get a
have to get
copy
your
of that?
book.
Well, this is available on Amazon.
Okay.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get
Yeah.
one.
And the Dayton Library has a couple of these I donated.
Okay.
And we've been doing a lot of things right here in the city this year. This is the 100 and something birthday. It was 150th birthday.
That's right.
And we had a lot of the plays there. We had the plays over there on was it Wayne Avenue, the Playhouse there. We had something over the Women Club this year. We also did something in the Victoria Theater with Dunbar. So yes, and it's well needed to be noted.
Yeah.
And I like to, because we as a Christian program, a lot of times we leave out the important, I say important things. Do you know he had Bible scriptures he loved and quoted? Do you know he prayed? And I say that because I said also about the Wright brothers. Remember, we talk about the Wright brothers, but how many know that their dad was a bishop?
Yeah.
They never talk about
They
this
never
in
talk about
media.
him being a pastor.
Same in college with
Yes.
like the poets, Coleridge. Oh, they all had religious poetry, but that's not what we studied. They never highlight that.
Right, exactly. And I'm thankful because sometime we need to know all good and perfect gifts come from where?
Up above.
Yeah.
And it is him that inspired. He is the creator. So therefore the creation we do comes from the creator. We are a reflection of the creator.
Yep.
And I said, give him all the glory and praise. And I wish they would give more attention. It's crazy. People that pray for me, pray for me, pray for that. And then when God deliver and bless them and make them successful, oh,
Not that door.
my degree, I have this. And what about God? They prayed and he answered your prayer. And there's so many of these guys, and you probably know the one director at the Dunbar House. I had her husband, well, she worked with her. Her husband was on my show talking about the Buffalo Soldiers.
That's right.
Earlier this year.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so much, and we know first thing I asked, what was his religion? Did he have any prayer? Yes, he was a Baptist or something. I like to highlight because prayer is the most important part of our lives.
Yes, it is.
And I believe it's in all our ways to acknowledge him, that he would direct us. We do ourselves a disservice of not acknowledging where our help and the ideas come from. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And I mean, I cannot leave that out.
Amen.
No way in the world.
Very true.
And I think all of us have stories that you can share. Oh, the Lord has inspired us.
Absolutely.
To do the things.
I like to share the gospel actually in fiction when I can. It's not in every single one of my books. Some
Yes.
of them are just clean,
Yes.
but a lot of them are Christian. And the one I'm just finishing, it's almost a whole chapter of the hero explaining to the heroine how he became a Christian and how to become a Christian. And I'm waiting to get some of my early readers to see if they're going to say it's too much, it's too long, but I think it's going to be a blessing. I pray it will be a blessing to people.
And that is a ministry.
And it's
I mean, sometimes we limit what ministry come from. Every now and then I look around and I know you're going to be a doctor, you ain't a doctor, but you know, and I call you doctor. But do you realize, I have sometimes, I had some ministers on my show and they come in there and said, doctor, they say, I'm not a doctor. I say, are you in the healing business? Mentally, spiritually? Yeah? Well, you're a doctor.
And you're a doctor.
Every doctor's just practicing, right?
Yeah. I just
But
be
the Dayton
nervous.
Christian Writers Guild was organized in 1984, and it was God speaking to me to start the Dayton Christian Writers Guild because there were so many individuals that were dying and taking history to the grave. And so when God spoke to me and said, form the Dayton Christian Writers Guild, I was like, who, me? you really have a sense of humor. You want me to do what? But God will use you if you allow him to, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what I had to realize that, okay, God, and you know, in my sleep, he just dictated everything. He just laid it in my spirit, everything that he wanted me to do. So it wasn't me. I have to give all the credit to God.
And we do.
You know,
Yeah.
for bestowing the information within me, okay? But know that God does have a sense of humor, okay? Because I was like, who, me? You got the wrong number. I'm not the one. Because I didn't feel as though I was qualified either. Many individuals feel as though they're not qualified because they can't dot every I and cross every T. But God, if you just allow God to direct your path,
Amen.
if you're just obedient to what he places in your spirit and remove the self-doubt, because now he's allowed me to publish 9 books, but God, I can't take credit for it. He gave me all the characters. The last 3 Christian fiction novels are Regaining Hope and Finding Hope. And so it was God that gave me each character and what was the plot and everything was happening, because I was like, okay, here you go again, God. You want me to do what? But again, if you just open yourself
Yes.
to what God wants you to do and allow Him to use you, and realize it's not what you know, but it's what God is
What God
sharing
put in you.
and putting in your spirit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then you too can become a public author, because we shouldn't be taking this information to the grave.
No.
So the Writers Guild was started to encourage individuals, to write. And if you say, okay, I can't type, I can't do this, get a microphone, get a tape recorder.
Yes.
Transcribe.
And yes, and speak it into that.
Yes.
Tape record it, and then give it to someone like my sister Valerie Coleman.
Put it in words. Come on, child.
and let her, okay,
Yes.
expound and take it to the next level.
I'd like to say something about what you said, how people don't feel like they have the talent, they're not good enough. And even though I was an English literature major in college, I never took creative writing because I was afraid to. And it's kind of a joke that God made me a novelist because I never took creative. I mean, a lot of writers don't. But He kept encouraging me. I had sent it to 2 publishers. I didn't know anything about publishing. And I thought, well, I'm not good enough, because they turned it down. One said maybe, then no. And I was ready to drop it, but the Lord kept nudging me and nudging me. And so I got it out there, and then I got it out there self-publishing. But then Harvest House actually picked that book up. And that's the book that opened the new genre of Regency romance. So God is so good, and He does it not just for us, He does it to bless other people.
He really does.
Yeah, like, me, I self-published through Aller Crown Publishing, my company, but I only did 7 of the 10 books I have.
So far.
Me, I like to embrace the exposure. I've loved the meet and greet that I've had with people from convention signings and from people. I was just in Cincinnati 2 weeks ago at a signing, and the people that come up to me and tell me, oh, I got that book. When the Dayton Book Expo was there, I got your book. I got 2 of your books. I got 3 of your books. I'm thinking, oh, well, that's what made me the best-selling author, But they're not just from Dayton. People that are beyond Dayton that will come up to you when you go out of town and say, I have your book. That is such a, I mean, that's more than money to me. To have people come up and say they know, I know you, or I know your work and I don't know you. I got your work off of Amazon or wherever. I feel delighted. I said, Lord, like Tina, it was your thing for me.
They say you take the foolishness of this world to confound the wise.
Well,
And God,
for
when you're always talking, God always, I hate to use the word underdog, but He'd take that one that don't feel like they're worthy. Because the person that doesn't feel like they're worthy, they're open to receive. But if one think of themselves more than they ought to, then they close the door for the opportunity for God to fill us with the wisdom and knowledge that He has for us.
It's the imposter syndrome. I find that a lot of the people who I work with or want to get started in writing, they have this fear. And like I tell them, fear and faith can't occupy the same space.
That's right.
Amen.
So let's talk
Amen.
through this thing. What is it that you're afraid of? For some people, it's focus or lack thereof. They're not clear on, I have all these stories, I don't know which one to start with, I don't know how to convey my message, I don't know how to put these thoughts to words. And then the other thing I find with working with people is forgiveness, or again, unforgiveness, but for the F alliteration, fear, focus, and forgiveness. And so I work with clients, when you talked about ministry, to really help them go through the process, because oftentimes they want to write about things that they've gone through, but they haven't fully gone through. Right? They're still processing. I can't write because I start crying. I don't want to pull that out. You're making me say this, and that really is hurtful. And it's not to be hurtful, but when you are transparent and vulnerable, and share your complete story, that's how people get transformation. But when you want to be superficial and just keep it on the surface and not really say what you went through or how you got through it, then your people really don't experience anything. And what I found is when people experience transformation by reading your books, they tell other people. And they come back for more. So it's really about digging deep and really telling your story to the point where even when it hurts, I have clients that say, okay, I know you're crying, you keep crying. I want you to write why you cry if at all possible, because now the feelings that you're feeling, you're pouring that onto the paper. Your readers will feel that.
That is
so it's really about keeping going. Absolutely.
But then, Valerie, that's not their purpose. That's why you are the messenger. Sometimes have the right message, but the person that can deliver the message like yourself or Tina or me or somebody or that can do this. And sometimes we can get an overcrowd in the marketplace of people that just want to, but what is your reason for wanting to? Why are you wanting to write? I've heard so many people say, well, I just want to, because I want to make some money. It can't be about just making money. I like embracing the exposure. So I feel like I'm walking in my purpose, because my mom always put little sticky notes all over her, and you know that, all over our house. She wrote to us. My mother was a teacher. She would write, and she would teach. She taught Sunday school. She did all this. So I grew up under somebody that was writing all the time. I sharpened the pencils. Sometimes God just give you that. Valerie's jack of all trades, but I think your ministry is to helping other people promote something from your stage that will make them liable for getting their message out. Just because I have a message don't necessarily mean I have the ability to write the message.
Absolutely.
So that's where your platform, to me, is so exciting. And so, if I was a person that had a message and didn't know how to write, I would go to Valerie and say, well, okay, can you write my book for me?
Some people
or can
do.
and they're making it so easy now where, you just fill in the blanks. And we didn't do it like that. We did it from scratch all the way up. So, it's where your anointing is. You can have a talent, but you may not have the anointing.
I was thinking something I was saying about writing a tape recorder. When I was an engineer, we was going to build that factory up there in East Liberty, a Honda plant. Thoughts would come to me, and I couldn't write, and the roads was dark, Highway 5, Highway 10. So I did get a tape recorder and set it on the seat.
I know writers who do that. They write their whole books that way.
Yes,
they have a lot of time in the car. Teresa.
So many
Slack.
different ways. Yes, exactly.
But I also find out there are a lot of individuals that are hurting and they need healing, and they cannot find or get healed until they actually write it. And leave the pain between the pages of the book. And then you can find healing and you can find perfect peace. But you must birth that book.
And you're telling that's what this is. When I was taking care of my mom.
What were you going to say?
And those books are inspiring.
Yes.
Probably all of us here who are writers are also readers. And that just, it's food.
Yes.
That comes back to what Valerie was saying, that if you're not crying when this is what I tell fiction writers. If you don't cry when you write it, they're not going to cry when you read it. If you don't laugh out loud when you write it,
right.
they're not going to laugh out loud.
Yes.
But everyone does, a lot of people have different purposes. You brought up purpose.
Yes.
Some just want to tell their story to their family.
Right.
Those are the easiest people to help. Because it doesn't have to be edited that well.
Sometimes it is about leaving a legacy. Okay, maybe it's not for everybody, but that family legacy, so that the next generation knows what grandma went through.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because grandma's dead and gone. All right. Well, hopefully grandma decided to write it, and therefore she may be gone 5 years, 10 years, and you are finally at the point where you're ready to read and find out what happened to grandma, what made her that way.
Yes.
Why wasn't she able to love you the way you wanted to be loved? And then you find out that she didn't have a mother. Her mother died when she was 13. So therefore she was raised by a stepmother who didn't know how to love her. And so now you find out what's happening. I truly believe in generational curses.
Absolutely.
It happens. And so in order for that daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter to know, it's important that you write it and leave it for the generations and generations to come.
Bishop Miles Monroe said that the richest place in the world is the graveyard. Because we die with all those gifts in us.
Exactly.
And so I really feel compelled that part of my ministry is to help people not die with all this wealth and knowledge and information in them. Because the earth is groaning for the manifestation of their gifts. So we got to help you get that gift out there to the world. And for writers who are right brain, it can be intimidating. Because I'm left brain, but I'm still an introvert. But it can be very intimidating to try to, have to get your message out and be vulnerable and tell my business, if you will. But it's the right thing to do.
But you know, we say a lot of time, I'm an African elder counselor here in Dayton as well. And one thing we said that every time an elder passes, a whole library is lost.
Yes.
I think about that.
And you know, it's such, when you were talking, and I know you mentioned something about romance. Romance is a ministry.
It is.
Because
We are in a
people
romance with
are
God,
real.
really.
Sometimes people are afraid to say, Christian romance? Duh. Do human have romantic relationships?
Yeah.
Are we not married? Or do we not have loved ones around us? It's a ministry.
It is. It's
The
a
Lord has
longing for
shown-
God, but we can
Yes.
only get it in small amounts in people. But
Yes.
it's a longing for
Yes.
God.
I was
It's
going-
unconditional love.
I did public transit, and that little booklet I have, I published some of the people, my little basement writer, to encourage them. They said, I've never been published, I wrote a little something. I remember a lady come to me, she said, oh, I wrote so many poems I was going through, like you were talking about trouble. Oh, it was so much terrible things going on. And I wrote it, and I was getting interest. You did? I said, where is it? She said, I threw that junk away. I said, oh, no, you didn't. And I know some probably looking at TV know me that did the public transit. Mother Nazipo, she would tell you. She and I talked, I had conversation. Sometimes I think she missed a stop. We just went on around talking about it. And I would get on her so much about writing. She said, you need to talk to my granddaughter. She needs to write too. She's writing. If you know Mama Nazipo, she's all over for public transit. But what I'm saying, it's interesting what we're doing. I'm so glad those at home realize or not, this is a very hot spot here at the table here. Everybody here, you don't realize, can be a help to you whatever you're doing. In the community, we need stripes. We need doers. We need actors. And one of the things I did early in my ministry, I often asked, I said, Lord, I don't want to be in a china cabinet. I want, you probably remember me saying this years ago, I want to be that cup on the counter. That same cup you get water, you drink coffee, you drink juice, and so forth. And believe me, I open my mouth too wide. I've seen ministry in places that I never dreamed. I've been with motorcycle clubs that are minister for Christ. And like I said, when you said romantic, you was a little reluctant to this Christian. I already see ministry in romance. We're here, aren't we? Is God a part of the romance?
Yeah.
Everything that we have is a gift from God.
It's a gift from God.
And we come from so many different backgrounds.
Actually, speaking of this legacy idea of leaving our stories, I'm actually writing every God encounter. You know, not just the little prayers of a day, but a really special encounter. And I'm writing them all basically for my family. But I've even asked people in my church, you have a good miracle story, you got a good God encounter, send it to me. And nobody has. I think people are shy.
They're shy. They're
And
frightened.
maybe they're not writers. You know, I told them I'll edit if it needs, because I could do a separate volume or even just mix them in. But I want to leave that for my family.
But that part you said, let's not make this an easy move for the people that are looking, because yeah, everybody can write, everybody got a story, I agree with this, but us at the table, we have to have some kind of empathy and sympathy for those. I just did a cookbook for an elderly lady that brought me the recipe in pencil. Please guys, no. I do obituaries for people, for churches, pencil. No, I'm just saying these are my terms and agreement. Maybe you guys can accept a pencil, but when I give you my terms and agreements and I give you your hard copy, your proof copy, and you say it's okay, don't come back a week later. It's very stressful at my age to say, can you change this line because this was not meant to be in there? And Microsoft don't like PowerPoint, and my whole thing goes into a Christmas tree. I'm up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying to straighten out what you already approved. Now, I don't want to charge you again, but you're making it difficult for the people that are doing this work for you. You know, so I say put your stuff on a hard drive, a flash drive. Let me give you your hard copy back. You approve it or get somebody to approve it, and go with it. Because to do it all over, you're going to have to pay all over.
Well, see, that sounds like my
I'm not
newest book.
charging these people.
Do it right the first time. that was the impetus for this book, because I was connecting with so many authors or aspiring authors who didn't know what to do, or when they did it wrong.
Yes.
So my whole reason for doing the 3-book series, Do It Right the First Time, How to Write, Publish, and Market Your Bestseller, was to help authors avoid the pitfalls of publishing.
I've done workshops
So they weren't,
on that.
so they weren't overspending, or they were skipping editing, or they were putting their faces on the front of the book cover and wondering why nobody's buying it, and full of typos, and they didn't have the barcode, and they didn't have the retail price. So I collaborated with 31 other authors, and we put our stories in there. And so there's a story from an attorney. Nakia Gray is an Esquire out of the Baltimore area, Baltimore, D.C. area, and she talked about intellectual properties and how to file your business entity and contracts and the necessity of that. And then there's stories from 6- and 7-figure income earners on how to generate that kind of revenue for your book. There's stories from editors, cover designers, and then authors. So it gives people who are serious about writing and publishing and marketing a book the step-by-step information that can help them excel. So this is my newest book, and like I said, it's a 3-part series. It was going to be one book, but I got so much great content, I couldn't whittle it down. I didn't want to publish an encyclopedia, so I put it into 3 different books. The
Sounds
book
good.
on writing, publishing, and then this is Conversations with the Marketing Experts, and I've been asked to do a workbook, so I'm working on that now. But the whole goal is to really help authors avoid those costly mistakes. Because people have spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on editing, or on book cover design, or in just general printing.
Or they don't want to spend anything.
Or they don't want to spend
And
anything.
that's
You got that right. Yes, a very
like,
little.
nobody's buying my book. Well, it's a hot mess. It's overpriced. You overpriced.
That's
It's under
another
delivered.
thing.
It's not well edited. It's formatted wrong. So that was really what and I love doing that because I'm an engineer by degree.
Yeah.
So all that left brain stuff, that stuff makes me happy. It saves you some money and cut down your time and avoid your frustration by showing you how to do it right the first time.
And my copy is brought with me today. Yes.
To start, we want to make sure we don't discourage individuals
That's
right.
from writing. You have to know the purpose, what and
right.
why you're writing, okay? And therefore, you may not want to market the book. You know, this may just be, as I said, for the family legacy. So when you first start thinking about writing, identify your purpose as to why you're writing this book. And then you'll know what your steps should be.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you have to help people identify that purpose.
Absolutely.
They just haven't really thought of it.
Yes.
Because they haven't thought about the marketing.
Right.
Whether you're writing to your family or writing for the masses, there's still marketing involved in how the cover is designed, how it's edited, how you put it out there. Because if you're writing it for your family, to your family, you still have to let your family know. So there's still marketing involved, whatever your genre or whatever your intention. And most of the people I work with are professional speakers and experts. So they are all about broadcasting
Right.
the message to get it out there to the masses.
And Miss Ashley Bass.
Yes, I love Ashley. She was one of my math students.
Yes. And she said, when are you gonna get my teacher back on your show? I said, well, I had her on my show a few years ago. When are you gonna get her back on? She was really crazy about it. But and we was glad we were able to get you back. But I didn't get no Hawaiian beach from you.
Yes, sorry.
But I was thinking,
Those
you
are
know,
cool.
interesting, you know. And even with Marcella, a lot of people don't realize when she come up with Hog Bottom Days, it was an older lady in her 90s, Mrs. Bennett, that is the one that encouraged her to write Hog Bottom Days. No one ever wrote anything about this place. In fact, the place that Dunbar High School is, her husband owned all that property before they sold it to the city. That's the little background history, and they built the Dunbar High School there. And when she come to Marcella and said, you ought to write a book about Hog Bottom. And of course, she had a lot of people pop up that she did. She said, I'm poetically writing it. And other people said, but you left this out. This was that wasn't in the that was in the Hog Bottom. So much, she said, I wasn't writing the history book. I was just,
That matters.
she was responding for what the lady had asked her. And if you're a poet, you don't write history.
Right.
But a lot of
He
times.
does. kind of.
Some of my poetry is history.
Yeah, well, yeah. But like the Bible's not a history book, but it records
It's
history.
got
There's some
poetry.
history.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of
Absolutely.
It's a mixture.
Yeah.
But you know, it's so much to say, and I tell you about. I hope someone is listening. When we started a little writing group, I did the writing group because I wanted more material, because I was doing the prison too. I was doing prison ministry, and I want more writers to write information to those inmates. And then that's where what's her name, Brenda Melson. She come on, but she was a songwriter. And so that's why we end up getting songwriters and literature writers. And then what happened was, I don't know if you know Clark Goodrich, Donna Clark Goodrich in Mesa, Arizona. And I had Donna Clark Goodrich from Mesa, Arizona. I had asked her to come to do a workshop for me back in the early 80s. And she was doing a special workshop in Wheaton, Illinois. And she said, I think I could swing by and do your workshop as well. You know, but, and then another jewel she brought a nephew, Dave Clark. The songwriter. So, you know, it just sort of intermingled. One thing helps another. And I said, you don't throw away nothing. Whatever you can do, it may not be directly in what you're doing. I know, like they say, you're multi-talent, because multi-purpose, because when you take in everything around you, you can use it.
Absolutely.
And you're right, that's what gives you your signature. It's different from everyone else. But so many people are copycat. It's so much information out there, you don't have to copy anyone. It's as much there as your fingerprints are different.
And Valerie, didn't you in the beginning tell all of us to know your audience?
Absolutely. You have to
know your audience. If you know your audience, you pretty much know. I went to school for marketing. She's the math whiz. I mean, I've flunked trigonometry, so, you know, I'm not math. That's why my stuff went into a Christmas tree, a triangle, because I don't know square times square and all that. But I went to school for marketing. I went to marketing and research, and you have to know, and when we first started out, that was the first thing she said was, know your audience. Go to the library, look at your book. All my books were, and for the benefit of the audience out there, I kept them this way so they could be a lesson to you when you're doing your book. Always make your book shelf ready. My books are, out of the 10 books, I think I have 5 table-ready books where they lay on the table because they don't have the spine with the name on it. All my books were color. This book is the name on the spine. And when my mother passed, I did a caregiving book, and the girl said, I like it because you got the letter on the spine. All my books are colored, but when she died, it became a gray situation. So this book is gray and very plain, but it's full of information. But spine ready, keep your book spine ready, so shelf ready. Called spine ready, shelf ready, so a person can see it. And a lot of the stuff Valerie's teaching these people now, you started out with us, you come to my house telling me what to do. And you know, you have to be able to absorb, embrace criticism without getting angry, getting mad, because of the changing of the bald head to the hair, this child is in. This book is in the Hero Africa. I mean, you know, those kids are using this book in their school. So her, what I'm saying is, so her information, this book is 20 years old. All the kids in my book have their own children. And they're buying this book for their children. I want to do a reunion with these kids, but they are all grown now, and this book is still selling. So tell me God don't anoint what he appoints.
And
he
your
does.
books, can they be picked up at the library, Dayton Public Library?
They're at the library.
Okay,
Some of them are at the library. Yes. Some of them are there. I think 3 of the 10 are in the library. And they're trying to get this one in because the librarian, she read it, and she said it brought her to tears, and she said, we got to get this one. So I think they're going to put that one in too.
You know something I'm thinking about? In Lenore and Jerry, I haven't got all that, but I was with you guys in the Christian Scribes with Lois Petchy. And it's in God's providence at different times I come together with all of you in some area or another. And I was just thinking, I don't know if you remember or not, Tina. I don't do everything, but I'm not jack of all trades. I try a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Do you know I sang in that workshop, you guys? I sang. And you threw a lead song. I thought they were going to kill me. My wife said, you're going to lose your voice. What's the name out of Cincinnati? Balin, Elder Balin.
Okay.
The organist for, the gospel singer. What was the guy? Rough voice. I hate I even brought the name. I can't even think of his name. And I had come to
Anyway, he was artist.
But anyway, that show, and I'm going to tell you, my wife talked about it to the end. Tina Turner had Tina Toes had the highest voice.
She does. She has a high voice.
And there's a beautiful voice. And there's a little African thing. Whoa.
Blessed.
And the creativity, what I'm saying, all of that is part of creativity. It's just not limited to one area.
No.
And when you embrace all the things around you, Bing Davis, he's a member of our organization as well. And I had some of my nephews and nieces to go down and talk to him, and he was telling me just what you said. I don't care about your work, I'm talking about you. For what reason?
Yes, right.
And he said, I'm 85 years old and I haven't yet gotten where I'm trying to go.
Yes.
And whenever you feel like you're writhe,
Yeah.
it's time to give up, just forgotten. That's true. But to be encouraged and continue. And I don't know, I was talking to Lois, she said, you got so many beautiful people coming with you today. She said, you might have to do a second show. With so much information to be able to share. And this is what we're about, networking. It's just not this one thing God had me here. This is just one of the many things. And there are many different ministries throughout our city. And I want this to shine, and I want perhaps you guys to come again and talk about a little bit more, right, and think about the help. Because you are helpers, you're doctors, you're leaders, you are creators, and you're gifted. Many times I told my sister-in-law, I said, you know something? And I said a lot, I'm strange.
We're peculiar people.
That's it. I got an English major. She knew our We are peculiar, the word of God. You're strange. We're not blending in with everyone.
That's right.
You are separate. And when people don't accept because they cannot, many a time you're way ahead of your time. But you don't stop giving what God gives you, and you don't always understand what God is giving you. It's just like ministering. I began to speak. Sometimes people say, one of my secretaries told me one time, she said, my whole family, they had a reunion in the city. And so they came to the church when I was pastoring in Cincinnati. And she said, my family's jumping all over me. I said, what's that? She said, you tell your pastor everything? And I said, she said, Pastor, you know I don't tell you anything. Then she stopped, she said, you was all up in our business. But what I'm saying, when God gives you something inspiring, you may not even realize what God has given to you for, but it's a purpose. And a lot of times, use the purpose. You may not understand everything I do, I don't understand it. But God give us, even I'm going to let everybody have something to close out. But one of my favorite things is when Christ asked Peter, or asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? He went around and said, you're a prophet, a good man, and so forth. He said, who do you say I am? And Peter spoke out and said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Christ looked at him and said, Peter, flesh and blood did not reveal that to you. In other words, there's no way in the world you know what you're talking about. And I said about writers, sometimes we don't even know why and what the reason God give us, but it's to help someone. So, since we're nearing the bottom of the hour, praise God, I want each author, producer, writer club, presidents that's sitting at this table today, making history, our 21st century scribes, I want you at least to say, I give you 2 minutes this time. Hopefully we can get through it. Each person at least get 2 minutes. Once again, give us a name, who you are, something that you want to share directly to our audience today. And you guys said, you got to pick your audience. I have all kinds of audience. I can't pick mine. And I'm crazy enough to try to reach them all. And we're going to start. Okay. You got one limit. But then again, sometimes you limit yourself to one audience.
That's true.
Because something that you think is just for a certain person, you're focusing on this, and God is trying to tell you something that you are not, an area that you're not familiar with, territory that you never worked in. But we have to be willing to open up. We have to be willing to wherever God lead us to go.
I'm thinking of how to translate that for like a fiction author, and that would be doing different genres. Because in fiction, you talked before about your audience, and actually you try to write to your ideal audience. If you try to write to please everyone, it's going to be a flop. But
You're never going to please everyone, but you'd be surprised what somebody get out of something you didn't intend for.
yes.
Now, when you're speaking as a minister, when you're speaking to ministers, you got all kinds of backgrounds in front of you. But the Spirit of the Lord get each person something out of what you were singing. And I just listen to my poems, you probably listen to your poem. If you stop and ask somebody, what you think about that? Most times they don't come nowhere close to what you were thinking about when you wrote it. But it's inspiring because that's what they were fed with.
That's right.
So you don't limit what God
Right.
does. Lord, have your way. I'm going to be quiet. I'm a minister. I can't help myself. So I'm going to tell you, we're going to start this way. Go back to Marcella, Ash, the last 1 or 2 minutes, your name, and just quickly tell us something you want to share to those at home.
You starting with me?
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to end up with this Dr. Valerie Coleman on this end. We started with her, so we're going to start this one.
Okay, I'm Marcella Ash, and I'm happy to be here today. And you can get in touch with me through Marcella Ash at sbcglobal.net. I'm on Amazon. My books are all on Amazon. If anything you see on Amazon that you would like to have, you can always call me at 937-760-6168. I'm not always available, but if you can email me at marcellaash@sbcglobal.net, I will try to get back to you, and I can give you your book without taxes if you live in the Dayton area. If you don't live in the Dayton area, I will have to tax you.
Tina Tolles, president and founder of the Dayton Christian Writers Guild. My vice president is Dr. Eugenia Gum. And I guess the one last word I would like to encourage everyone to write for God's glory, which is the objective of the Dayton Christian Writers Guild. Our goal is to minister through our writings. Our objective is to teach, aid, and assist those who feel called by God to write for His glory. And so I want to say to you that there is a book in you, a book in you, and a book in you. You just have to be determined to let nothing stop you from writing that book.
Yes.
Because I truly believe that there is a book in you, but you have to accept it and acknowledge that. We meet at Corinthian Baptist Church the second Saturday of every month from 2 to 4. We are not meeting at this time, but we will be meeting again February of 2023 and second Saturday from 2 to 4. Reverend Dr. Perry Henderson is my pastor. And feel free to give me a call at area code 937-836-6600. Again, area code 937-836-6600. Or if you want to email me, it's real simple, tinatolles@yahoo.com. And give me a call, and I'd be more than willing to work with you. Because we all have to start somewhere. We didn't all start out with this big old book,
No.
you know, of 200 pages. We all had to start somewhere. So know that. Take those 25 pages, bring them to the Dayton Christian Writers Guild, or Sister Coleman over here can help you.
Dr. Coleman.
Lois
Scribes.
can help you. I'm sorry the
That's
day.
okay.
But yeah, we're all willing to lend a helping hand to be so that you can write what God has placed in your spirit and on your heart. Thank
We
you
also
for this
didn't
opportunity.
mention that there are tons of online resources available,
Yes.
you know, for writers. Am I looking at you here when I talk to you? So again, I'm Lenore Rose Burkhardt. We haven't really talked about writing as entertainment, but that is also a legitimate calling. I write books that I want to read for fun, for inspiration too, but most of my books are entertaining, and so if that's what you're looking for with inspiration to added on top, my website is my name. It's just lenoreburkhardt.com. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy name like Tina. So it's L-I-N-O-R-E, Burkhardt. B as in boy, U-R-K-A-R-D.com. Or you can just look me up on Amazon or look online. You'll find my books if you're interested. Thanks.
But your protagonists in your books
Yes.
have good characters.
Yes, of course.
The young ladies are modest,
Yes.
and so your characters are influential, I would say, for
I like
people
that.
who read your books.
I hope they are.
So that it's not just entertainment. You know, there's an
No,
influence
I don't
factor.
mean purely
Yeah.
entertainment. It's
Yeah.
clean and wholesome
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yep.
The world needs that today.
It does need it.
Especially in romance.
I'm
I like
Gerald.
romance.
I'm Gerald E. Green. You're interested in romance?
Hey, I have male readers. I do.
Hey, I'm one
He's
of
not
her
the
male
only
readers.
one.
I enjoy her books. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm Gerald E. Green, and I was never interested in writing. I never tried writing. I gave a speech at a convention called The Money Show in New York City one February. And at the end of the speech, an editor for John Wiley and Sons, this is the publisher that does all the books for dummies, they approached me and asked me to write a book. And I thought, well, maybe I should learn to write. So I began taking some courses. I took some courses at UC and Sinclair.
Did you write?
I've always been a writer,
Did
a
you write for
reader.
them?
So I did write the book, yes. I gave them a proposal, they accepted it. This was in 2008. 2007, it was published in 2008.
Can we hear the name?
And it's a long name, and the book sells. And the book sells for $85.
Oh,
$85 for a book. I was happy with the royalties from that book, I might add. But then I got serious about writing, and I know that many of you who are watching have had an urge to write, have maybe been called by the Lord to write, and you've been hesitant. And I want you to know that just start writing. Pick up a pen and start writing. And then take some courses. Join one of the local writing groups. You'll rub elbows with people who know how to write, and they'll help you. And we can all participate and fulfill what we are called to do.
And I'm Valerie J. Lewis Coleman of Pen of the Writer, and what I want to encourage you to do is trust that God has only good intentions for you. Whether that's telling your story, whether that's keeping it to yourself, which I don't recommend you do, but know that He has your back, and so do I. So if you have questions or concerns, I am launching an academy, Pen of the Writer Academy, penofthewriteracademy.com on November the 15th. And I'm going to walk people through the process of publishing and marketing a book. So it's going to be a cohort group. We're going to work together, encourage, inspire, and teach you all the secrets that I have acquired in over 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I encourage you to write the book because, again, like I said, the earth is groaning for the manifestation of your gift. So you can reach me at penofthewriter.com. That's PEN of the writer.com, based out of Judges 5:14. My number is 888-802-1802, or you can email me at info@penofthewriter.com. Just go write the book.
And some other media things in closing, I want to invite each and every one of you. We have Jerry already here at DATV, DSTV. I can see you also doing some type of production with what you're doing to push it farther. Even some of your classes, that you can also create a program right here. We have one of the greatest state-of-the-art podcast rooms right here at DATV. Ask someone to help let you peek in and on the way out. I think you would love it. And not just you and Mike or anybody, one person, do the same thing we're doing here. It's easy, just like writing, and it's another media that I feel like each one of you are qualified to do. Don't procrastinate. You know what procrastination do. And don't look at all the studios that I can't do that. But I invite you, and I believe it will put your ministry on the rocket pad. We're not limited to what we are. The classrooms, a lot of times when I first started here, I started about 37 years ago now here. And the thing is, I used to try to get a lot of ministers here. They were reluctant. But now we have so many that we have a whole DSTV now. But then again, what I'm looking at now, we don't limit it to just a pulpit, because it's more about Christian living than just a pulpit and another choir.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to encourage more of them today. Come on, get in there. There's a community thing that you can do. This virus has been in our community. You don't have to be in a congregation, but yet you can reach the community with your ministry. God bless you. We thank each one of the guests. I know we have others waiting to get what's for me, but we thank God again, and we hope to call upon you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a blessed day.